And welcome back to another edition of Everyman Driver. Alongside Dave Erickson, I'm Alex LaFreese. Thanks so much for watching.
If you haven't already, click on that subscribe button so you can receive updates on our new video uploads. And this week, we're reviewing the 2013 Mitsubishi Lancer Sportback GT. And my favorite part about this car, exterior styling. This looks pretty cool.
It does. We will tell you everything you need to know about this car: engine, transmission, ride and handling, cargo space, the works.
Everyman Driver starts right now.
The 2013 Lancer Sportback GT has a 2.4-liter dual overhead cam 4-cylinder, good for 168 horsepower and 167 pound-feet of torque. It's got a CVT transmission, Dave, which is great at the pump, not as good on the road.
Well, fuel economy is respectable, but not great. Estimates are 22 miles per gallon in the city and up to 29 on the highway. We've been getting about 24 in mixed driving, so right there below their estimated 25 for mixed. I'm not that impressed, and we'll get to this in the ride and handling segment, but this CVT really bugs me. I don't know what it is about these Mitsubishis, but I'm just not a fan of this particular CVT in this particular car.
Yeah, well, the only reason you put a CVT in is for fuel savings, and ultimately this car isn't that big, isn't that powerful, and while these fuel numbers aren't terrible, cars are getting so good and the numbers are getting so good that, you know, this has to be at or below average for the rest of the class.
Well, let's take it for a spin and find out more.
Let's do it. Ride and handling in the Lancer is good, not great. The CVT is really the biggest drawback of this car, and it's not really the CVT's fault as far as this one being much worse than any other one, but just in general, they really detract from the driving experience, even if they add to fuel numbers. One thing I will say about this CVT, though, is that when you're using the paddles, it actually works. This whole car has sort of got a sporty nature to it, obviously being the little brother of the Evo, and you can feel that. It's got these big paddles mounted on the column, and you can actually use them. The handling on this car is, to be honest, it's good, not great. It's not quite as tight as I thought it was going to be. Steering is not quite as direct, but overall not bad. I would like to see a little more pep from the engine, you know, 170-ish horsepower. Overall, this car is going to drive very comparably to, you know, a Subaru Impreza, and even has somewhat of a similar feel, but just lacks that little bit of refinement. One more note about the performance and handling of the Lancer: an Eco Driver indicator lamp is offered on the dash, which tells you when you're driving fuel efficiently.
My overall impression of the interior of the Lancer is not great. I really want to like it, but it seems a little disjointed. I'm not a big fan of this informational display here. I like how it's all in one spot, but it's just not working for me.
It's so funny, you and I came to this conclusion completely separately, but I feel the exact same way. But the word that I would use is almost. Well, with this whole car, but the interior included, it's like almost. It's like it's got a full service, infotainment system here, but you can tell that it's clearly just a bolt-in unit, and it's too busy, too complicated, clearly not made by Mitsubishi, so it's like almost there. It's got a keyless entry system, but you can tell that there used to be a key that went into the ignition, so now they've just stuck a rubber cap essentially on it, and it's still like you're turning a key. It's just sort of like an imaginary key. You know, so there's all of these things in this interior where you're like, oh, they're close. Give it one more generation and they'd have it, but it's just not quite there.
I like how this is a black on black. You've got some reflective surfaces and also some matte black finish. A very simple instrument display, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's got the multicolor display, really one of the most colorful and I would say involving center, little instrument panel displays that we've seen. 2 big dials on the side, so I really like that. These paddles are big, they're right there. The steering wheel feels pretty good, so it is close. In fact, the whole feel of this interior reminds me a little bit, of all things, of the Mazda CX-5. It's got the black on black and the way that it sweeps around with the 3 dials for heat and air conditioning, and not a bad place to be, but for how many gizmos and gadgets this interior has, it just could have done it all a little more gracefully, a little more elegantly. Yeah, the driver experience, even the passenger experience, I think almost might be the word of the day. It's almost there. Something's missing. I just don't feel like this is a really that fun of a experience. And I want to have a fun experience, and I get that impression on the outside. I mean, it's a great looking car on the outside. Yeah. That's my favorite part of this, is how it looks on the outside. I would expect a little bit more on the inside to match that emotional impact I have by looking at it on the outside. Yeah, I would agree. And again, there are a ton of cool things on the inside. The Rockford Fosgate stereo system in this is awesome. We've got, nice big sunroof and, leather wrap this and leather wrap that, heated seats. So you're getting all the gizmos and gadgets. It's just like on that Outlander Sport that we tested. You're getting all of the goodies. It's just not packaged quite as nice as on other cars. So I applaud Mitsubishi's. You hear grumblings that they're going to leave the United States and everything else. I hope they don't. I hope they just continue to pour some R&D money into these cars, and I think they could be legitimate contenders against a Subaru or a Toyota. And a few of the standard features on the inside of the Lancer include dual front airbags, front seat mounted side airbags, a latch system for child seats, traction control, air conditioning with a Micron filter, automatic climate control, steering wheel mounted cruise control and audio switches, which is usually standard on most vehicles, leather wrapped steering wheel and shift knob. You also have a fast key entry system, rear heater floor ducts, and height adjustable cargo floor and floor mats. Let's take a closer look now at the legroom, headroom, and shoulder room in the back seat of the Lancer. First of all, based on the stat sheet of the Lancer, there's about 3 more inches of headroom in the front seat versus the back, although they do give you a little bit of an indent here to give you a little bit more the illusion of having more headroom. Shoulder room is about the same front and back. Legroom, though, is where it kind of suffers. There's about 6 inches less of legroom in the back seat versus the front seat. Now, take in consideration, Alex is about 6'2". This is his driving position. I'm about 5'11". That's how much room I have right here as a passenger in the back seat. Not fantastic, not horrible, something I can live with. So overall, I'd say it's about average. Let's have Alex take a look at the trunk now. Trunk space in the Lancer Sportback is, surprise, surprise, better than the Lancer sedan. It comes with this privacy shade, which is easily removable, and while your valuables will be exposed, you end up getting a lot more trunk space. Now, there are some really neat things back here. With the premium stereo that our model's got, you get a big Rockford Fosgate subwoofer, and on the other side, you get a extra little storage bin. Now, so many cars these days, in the name of weight savings and fuel economy, are just giving you a cheesy flat kit or something like that. I have to applaud Mitsubishi on giving the Lancer a full-size spare tire with a jack and also some other tools to go with it. So overall, you really do end up getting more car with the Sportback versus the sedan. And if you want even more cargo space, the third row seats fold down automatically with just a flip of the switch.
So the MSRP on the Lancer Sportback is $21,500, but we have two additional packages: the GT Touring Package, which gets you that kick-ass sound system, the leather seating package, but we also have the technology package, which means navigation and rear view camera for an extra $2,000. So all said and done, we're looking at $27,800 for what we have right here. Overall, what do you think the value of this vehicle is?
27.8's fair. This is tough because the value of the vehicle minus the goodies, it's like this is a car that's a cheaper base car to begin with, lots of goodies slapped on, as we talked about. So I don't think 27.8 is horrible for this car. I'd like to see it more at that 26 range because the whole car just to begin with isn't quite as strong as, say, a Subaru, but overall, you know, not a bad package.
Yeah, I think the starting base price at $21,500 is decent.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't need those other extras if you want to save money. Fuel economy, though, I wish it could be a little bit better.
Absolutely.
You know, we're looking at the mid-20s for mixed driving. You have that CVT, so that to me, just the whole feel, the sound of it, we had a lot of road noise, I felt like, inside the cabin, so that was a downside. The biggest selling point continues to be, for me, the exterior styling. I think it's a great looking car, and if you stick with the base price, I think it's a good value in that respect. I
totally agree. The other thing that's neat about Mitsubishi is you don't see a ton of them. And I don't think you see a ton of them for good reasons, you know, some of the weaknesses that we expose. That being said, if you say you drive a Subaru, 3 of your buddies drive one too. You know, when you're driving a Mitsubishi, it's that little different. It's, oh, I've never actually been in a Lancer. You know, I've always heard about them or whatever. So for somebody that likes to drive something a little different than everybody else, you know, that can be appealing as well.
Scale of 1 to 10?
I would say a 7. And I think the next generation of this car could be a strong 8. I think if they can keep this thing featured laden for a good value, keep going with the refinement, get this thing a little more integrated, I think this really could be a contender right now, though it's just a very average 7.
I'm gonna go a little bit lower. I'm gonna say a solid 6 because I just didn't really feel as comfortable inside the front 2 seats. I just don't necessarily like that display system for me.
Yeah.
Outside's great. Fuel economy's not fantastic. I don't know. I think I'm just not confident with the Mitsubishi brand.
Yeah. The last thing that I would say is I would absolutely go with the Sportback over the sedan. The cargo room, you really do end up getting more cargo room. And in this car, I don't think that Sportback design, which looks bad on a lot of cars, I think it looks really solid on this car. So from that standpoint, I think that's the way to go.
Well, that'll wrap it up for this episode of Everyman Driver. Alongside Alex DeFries, I'm Dave Erickson. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.